The soft rumble of snoring pulled Lyra Mond from her sleep. She blinked in the dim blue light of the observation deck, her neck stiff from slouching against the console. The sound wasn't coming from the engines or the environmental systems. It was organic, rhythmic, and decidedly mammalian. She turned her head slowly, eyes adjusting to the darkness. Commander Thexra, the Velixian security chief, a 7-foot-tall apex predator with obsidian scales and reflexes that could snatch a plasma bolt mid-flight, was sprawled across 3 chairs, snoring like a broken air filter. His clawed hands dangled limply toward the floor. Lyra sat up straighter. Across the room, Lieutenant Vorin, another member of the predator species known for their perpetual vigilance, was curled up against a supply crate, chest rising and falling in deep, peaceful sleep. "What in the void?" Lyra whispered. A small chirping sound made her freeze. She turned toward the source and found herself staring into a pair of enormous golden eyes. The creature was no bigger than a house cat, covered in downy silver fur with dark stripes running along its spine. Its ears were comically oversized, twitching at every sound. A Velixian cub. "Kexi?" Lyra breathed, recognizing the commander's offspring. The cub sat primly on the main console, tiny paws placed together, tail curled around its body. It chirped again, a sound that was somehow both adorable and commanding. "Did you put everyone to sleep?" Lyra asked, not expecting an answer. Kexi tilted her head, then jumped down from the console with surprising grace. She padded over to Lyra and nudged her hand with a cold nose. When Lyra didn't move, the cub grabbed her sleeve with gentle teeth and tugged. Okay, I'm coming." Lyra stood, following the determined creature through the corridors of the station. As they walked, Lyra noticed more sleeping forms. The night shift crew, all predator species, all supposedly on high alert, were scattered throughout their posts, sleeping soundly. In the mess hall, she found 3 Chrysian guards snoring in harmony, their multi-limbed bodies tangled together. Near the airlock, a Drachnor sentinel slept standing up, somehow balanced perfectly on its hind legs. And everywhere, moving with quiet purpose, were cubs. Dozens of them. Velixian, Chrysian, Drachnor younglings, all species represented on the station. They moved in coordinated patterns, checking on the sleeping adults, adjusting blankets that had been dragged from somewhere, bringing water containers within reach. Kexi led Lyra to the central observation dome, where the stars stretched endlessly across the viewport. There, arranged in a small circle, sat what appeared to be the leadership council of cubs. They chirped, growled, and clicked at each other in their respective languages, a bizarre parliament of infant predators. When Kexi chirped loudly, they all turned to look at Lyra. Hello," Lyra said awkwardly, raising a hand in greeting. The smallest Drachnor cub waddled forward, stumbling over its own tail. It held up a datapad in its tiny claws, one clearly stolen from the communications bay. The screen showed a simple message in Standard Galactic. "Rest time. No work. Cubs guard now." Lyra couldn't help but smile. "You organized this?" "All of you?" Kexi chirped affirmatively, puffing out her small chest with pride. "But why?" Lyra knelt down to their level. "Your parents are supposed to be on duty. The station needs protection." A Chrysian cub clicked rapidly, its translator collar struggling with the juvenile dialect. The translation came out broken. "Adults. Tired. Work too much. Always fight. Always worry. Cubs see. Cubs fix." Lyra felt something tighten in her chest. She'd been on the station for 6 months, ever since humanity had been inducted into the Galactic Coalition. The predator species had been skeptical of humans at first, soft, weak, lacking claws, or natural weapons, but they'd grudgingly accepted humanity's tactical mind and problem-solving abilities. What Lyra hadn't realized was how exhausted everyone had become. The station stood at the edge of disputed territory, a constant state of alertness. The predator species, proud and protective, refused to show weakness. They pushed themselves beyond reasonable limits, driven by instinct and duty. The cubs had noticed what the adults tried to hide. "You little ones are smarter than you look. Lyra said softly. She sat cross-legged on the floor. And immediately several cubs climbed into her lap, seeking warmth and contact. But you know your parents will panic when they wake up, right? They'll think something terrible happened. Kexi chirped thoughtfully, then bounded over to the stolen datapad. She pawed at it clumsily until a recording interface appeared. With more coordination than Lyra thought possible for something so small, the cub triggered a station-wide message. Kexi's tiny face appeared on every screen throughout the station. She chirped in her native language, and the auto-translator provided subtitles. Attention all adults. Cubs have assumed night watch. All systems monitored. No threats detected. You are ordered to rest. This is not optional. Resistance will be met with excessive cuteness. Kexi out. Lyra burst out laughing, the sound echoing through the dome. The cubs all turned to stare at her, seemingly satisfied with themselves. You know what? Lyra said, scratching behind Kexi's oversized ears. You're absolutely right. Everyone needs rest. Even apex predators. She stood up, cubs tumbling gently from her lap. All right, night shift cubs, let's do this properly. I'll help you monitor the sensors. Between your instincts and my human stubbornness, we'll keep everyone safe. The cubs erupted in a chorus of chirps, clicks, and tiny roars. They scattered to their designated posts, some perching by consoles they couldn't quite reach, others pressing their noses against viewports, small tails swishing with importance. Kexi remained at Lyra's side as the human settled at the main console. Together, they watched the stars, the sensors, and the sleeping forms of warriors who'd finally been given permission to rest. When Commander Thexra woke 8 hours later, the most sleep he'd had in months, he found his daughter curled up in Lyra's lap, both of them asleep at the console. Every system had been perfectly monitored, every alert properly logged. The station's security feeds told the whole story. From that night forward, the cubs were officially recognized as the Rest Enforcement Division. Once per week, they would stage a coordinated operation, ensuring every adult took proper sleep cycles. The predator species, too proud to rest on their own, couldn't bring themselves to refuse their own offspring. And Lyra Mond became known as the human who taught predators that sometimes the greatest strength was knowing when to let the cubs take watch. After all, humanity had learned long ago. It takes a village to raise a child. And sometimes, it takes children to save a village.